How are you today? I am. I'm tired, but then again, that's back to life for me these days. The trouble, the troubles of working a graveyard shift. Occasionally, we are entitled to what we call good news because there's just so much crap that takes place in our backyards, locally, municipally, on the state level, nationally, and on the world stage. Yeah, it seems like you know. If it wasn't for bad luck, we have no luck at all. Remember that line from Hee Haw? And that seems to be commonplace and a common theme for the year 2020. And so while there's been a lot of bad news, even in bad times, you find pockets of positive development, positive news. And that's what I'm about to do. I'm about to share with y'all some positive news. Unfortunately, it's not positive news for the United States, but some societies, things are not going to hell in a handbasket. And it's also my chance to be, in my own way, a partisan hack and to gloat against ignorant Americans on what I'm about to talk about. So let me get started. Today's December 15th, 2020. The United States still is contending with the COVID virus. Yes, it's awesome that there are vaccines around, and some people are starting to have the vaccines available, and some people have received it. Mostly medical workers, and frankly, I have no problem with medical workers being the first people to have access to it because these first responders, what they do is very important, and they're putting their lives on the line. If their lives are in danger and they get the COVID, when then you're going to still have fewer people and a longer amount of time before a sense of normalcy is restored. So let's hope that the vaccine is going to do what it's supposed to do. I am going to wait, can maybe about a year. And the reason I say that, and I said this before, is that I don't know what side effects there's going to be. So I'm going to practice my precautions. And I'm going to go on with my day to day life, and I'm going to go and hope, and I'm going to pray that I'm going to be safe from this virus until they inject the vaccine into me. And as I said, I'm planning to do this next year because I don't know what the effect is going to be. And if anybody else wants to go ahead and take the virus, I would take the vaccine. I am not going to I'm not going to stop them. I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'll see what happens to the other people, and if they're not growing a forearm off of their forehead or something crazy like that, then I'll feel like it's safe to take it. So let me get started on the good news I'm about to share with y'all with my partisan insight and gloating to be included in this. As of December the 7th, 2020, the New Zealand Ministry of Health declared an end to the COVID crisis. That's right. Life is back to normal in New Zealand. There's no more lockdowns. Masks are no longer required. Not even social distancing is mandated by law in New Zealand. The only restrictions that exist today in New Zealand is voluntary. They're urging you to safeguard yourself. The government saying, we're not mandating these things, but just do what you can to be careful. Yeah, and so, and I just think that's a good thing that's happened. There are some travel restrictions. I mean, traveling to New Zealand is not really allowed right now. So there's very few traveling into New Zealand. I think there's like maybe a little bit. I think they're going to start allowing people from Australia to come into New Zealand, uh, and they're going to have to be, physically vetted and quarantined and all that. They're just trying to be careful. Mm. But life is otherwise pretty much as back to normal as it could be anywhere in the world. I mean, if you, in the age of COVID, if you got to live anywhere where it's going to be safe, New Zealand is the place to be. So if you're a citizen of New Zealand and you live in New Zealand, you're probably one of the luckiest people in the world right now in the year 2020. So how was New Zealand's COVID effectively defeated, and where did the USA go wrong? Well, part of it is hugely their advantage was geography. Geography is their advantage. They're an island nation, and being an island nation surrounded by a mass body of water, it's not going to be so easy to even under normal circumstances. Is traveling to New Zealand is going to be a chore for just about anybody around the world, unless you live in Australia. It wouldn't be, but if you live anywhere else around the world, I mean, no matter what part of the world you live and you want to go to New Zealand or Australia for that matter, you're going to be traveling quite a while. I've known people that have actually uh, left the United States to travel to Australia, and they've never been on a plane so long in their lives. So you have the body of water as their geography, which includes the travel restrictions that I mentioned, and that in itself was a huge advantage. But they also had a built-in advantage, and not just not just you know to New Zealand, but other countries. They're no stranger to the concept of having universal health care. So healthcare was available for the people of New Zealand when they got sick from the COVID. Um, and we're still contending with that issue here in the United States. They did an extreme lockdown in New Zealand. I mean, the whole economy was shut down, and but it was temporary. But it was an extreme lockdown, and they enforced extreme social distancing laws and guidelines and universal mask. And it was done for an extremely short period of time. Only 1,500 people roughly got this virus. The majority of them are physically back in good health. Only 22 people died of COVID. I mean, you compare the numbers in the United States of COVID and the deaths of COVID to the number of people having COVID in New Zealand and the people that died in New Zealand. Hardly, I mean, it is as different as night and day. And the USA, you think with this damn pandemic that they would have that would have medical care that's available even on an emergency temporary scale for people because it's that serious. Nothing. In fact, 14 million Americans lost their health coverage because of this crisis. And we got dumbasses from in Washington, D.C., from both parties don't want to lift their finger to help the American people. You would think, and this is where I get partisan, in my little section of the left. You would think with this damn pandemic that will be a stirring cry, a demand for Medicare for all. You would think so. Can't even get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib and Jamal Bowman and the various other members of the squads and some of the allies of the squads that support Medicare for all. You can't even tell them to offer a referendum, offer an ultimatum to Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, demanding her to allow an up and down vote for Medicare for all. And if she doesn't do this, they're going to sit their hands down and just not vote for her for speaker, and she becomes an irrelevant backbencher. They don't even have the balls to go and challenge Nancy Pelosi on that issue. Whereas you have Boris Johnson of Great Britain, theoretically, Great Britain's Donald Trump, thanking the National Health Service for saving his life. And we can't even have, how sad is it that Boris Johnson is to the left of Nancy Pelosi on healthcare? That is the bullshit of living in the United States in that regard. New Zealand didn't have that problem. Can't even get a fucking stimulus check. Can't even get crumbs. But fucking corporate America and companies not even in the United States gets free money from the U.S. government in the premise of not laying off workers, and they fucking lay off workers anyway. I am surprised there's not more rioting on the streets over this shit. And for all the people out there whining about Trump being defeated through questionable means with regard to the election, you got fucked over by this man when he had Treasury Stephen Mnuchin giving $4.5 trillion to corporations, and some of y'all got laid off by those corporations, and you still view Donald Trump as a hero? No. And for some out there, this is not a chance to just shit on Trump. I'm shitting on Mitch McConnell. I'm shitting on Chuck Schumer. I'm shitting on Nancy Pelosi too. I'm shitting on state governors from both parties. This is a two-party bullshit problem here. But anyway, New Zealand already had the wisdom to have universal health care, whereas we're still debating whether we'll have to have it in the year 2020. And even people who are favorable to it in Washington, D.C. are too damn scared. And what do? You got people on the left saying, I wish that Jimmy Dore be quiet about offering a challenging Nancy Pelosi. Because to make Nancy Pelosi feel uncomfortable, the squads are worried that there's going to be repercussions on them, and they're going to lose their precious, positions already in the House. They were there to serve the people. Damn it, serve the people. New Zealand. You think about it. Jacinda Ardern. Contrast that with New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern is the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she's a socialist. The New Zealand Labour Party is a socialist party affiliated with the Socialist International, and it is the governing party of New Zealand. New Zealand is not a socialist country, but they use socialism. And I'm not talking about lockdowns. Lockdowns ain't socialism. Wearing masks ain't socialism. Social distancing ain't socialism. But having universal health care is. And it's such a common sense idea that conservatives in other countries get it. I mean, the Christian Democratic government in Germany in 1881 developed the first national health care system. Otto von Bismarck, not a Marxist at all. Pretty much a center-right, conservative type. So John Stossel, who wants to sit there and make fun of progressives for looking at the Nordic model and saying they're not socialist countries. They have little tax systems that's more corporate friendly than the United States, and they engage in more trade than the United States, and using little nuances in the economy. Like some of these countries not even having a minimum wage system in those countries, yet those countries are able to advance more than the United States. Well, here's the thing. You have universal health care, which those countries undeniably have. You can engage in global trade more effectively. You can have, you have 90% of the workforce unionized. You don't even really need a minimum wage because companies are going to keep the wages high. See, people like John Stanson want to have it both ways. He wants to get rid of minimum wage, like they do in Europe, but he doesn't want the unions to be, 90% of the workforce. John Stanson can fuck himself. But the thing is, he will tell you that New Zealand isn't a socialist country. He's right; they're not a socialist country. But when you have a labor government, or you have a social democratic government, or you have a socialist party government coming in and doing labor things, doing social democratic things, doing socialist things to the economy, even though it doesn't eradicate capitalism, those socialistic policies help the people. And it's so damn successful that conservatives, Christian Democrats, the center right, in many of these countries abroad, even some parties on the far right, be like, we better not touch the healthcare system. We better not touch the safety net because this shit's so popular. There will be popular revolts down the street. Michael Moore said it once in France. The government's scared of the people. We're fucking scared of the government here in the United States. A government that will sit there and coddle the wealthy and coddle the affluent, but tell the poor and tell the middle class to fuck off. New Zealand did something right, folks. Face it, they did something right. They were able to defeat this virus. We could defeat this virus too if we had a Medicare for all system. Healthcare is one vital key to overcoming COVID. And we live in the year 2020. And we can't get that. We don't have we have a precedent that the fucking right wing in this country calls socialist. For some reason they think Joe Biden is a socialist. And they think that Kamala Harris is a socialist. And neither of them support Medicare for all. In fact, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are to the right of any conservative person abroad that's a head of state. People, we need to stop what is bullshit here in the United States. But I have a feeling that Americans just sit there, smile, they may quietly fret, they may complain and yell the way I've been yelling, from whatever perspective they have. But then they sit there and they take it, and they take it, and they take it, and they take it. In a lot of ways, we're unfortunately more of a, people will make fun of how docile the French people are. They take a hell of a lot less shit from the government of France than we do here in the United States. New Zealand, congratulations. You defeated the COVID virus, and you did it with common sense. It's too bad we don't have it here in the United States at all. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were really disturbed and offended, well, tough cookies. Comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. And as a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform and you're passionate about something, utilize it. If you're passionate about something and you don't have a platform, please, by all means, develop that platform. Utilize it, because we're all the muckrakers of our time. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel to be enlightened. And until next time, I am American Social Democracy. Peace. And Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.